Are the Celtics the best team in the NBA? So yeah, as you guys can see, we are going to be doing a NBA mid-season kind of evaluation, my report card, as we near the trade deadline. We are a day away from it. I'm recording this on Wednesday. The trade deadline is on Thursday. Big news in the NBA today: Chris Middleton was just traded for Kyle Kuzma. That was kind of the big swap. Kuzma's been rumored to be traded many different times, and then KD is in trade talks. I think the only trade that would end up happening for KD would be Jimmy Butler for Kevin Durant. A lot of things are happening, and we are about 50 games through the NBA season for most teams. We are just over the halfway point, a little late, I guess you could say, on the mid-season evaluation part, but we're gonna do it. I'm gonna do some broad criteria here: A, B, C, D, F, just the simple. I mean, you could definitely argue you could do A plus, A minus, the way they do it in school. I feel like this is just easier, and I'll kind of go in detail about how I feel about teams a little less. But I mean, A obviously are the top dogs. They're playoff contenders, championship favorites. B, maybe they're sneaking into the playoff. They should be a playoff team, but they're not the best of the best. C, sneaking into the play-in, mid-team. D, below average. F, they're pretty bad, really bad. So yeah, that's kind of how I'm just gonna do it, and I'm just gonna jump right into it with the Atlanta Hawks. But of course, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you guys are new. And let's just get straight into it with the Atlanta Hawks. Hawks currently are 4 games below 500. And Trae Young's definitely having himself a better season. I think Jalen Johnson's been a pretty good counterpiece for it. Reese Shay's having an okay rookie year. But at the end of the day, they're really not there yet as a playoff contender, but I think they will be soon. The team is young. Trae Young is kind of aging slowly, but he's still an elite player, and the team is only getting younger. They have some pretty good role players on the roster, and they're an okay team. They probably will make it into the play-in this year, but they're not playoff worthy yet. I can't put them in the B tier. I think that they're definitely just a mid team, and they're doing what they need to do, but I think that they could definitely be playing better. For the Celtics, obviously they're an A team. They're finals contenders. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Derek White, Kristaps, Drew Holiday. It's really an all-star lineup. There's nothing you could really say bad about them. They're 36 and 15 right now. They're one of the best teams in the NBA, and it's really hard to argue otherwise. That's all I'm really going to say about them. Brooklyn Nets now. The Nets, uh, they're they're pretty bad. I mean, I will say they're kind of injury rattled. They like if you look at their lineup, you'd probably genuinely like wonder who some of these guys are that are playing. But personally, I'm like hesitant where I want to put them. I don't really think that they're the worst team in the NBA, so we'll put them in the D category for now, as they have not really done too much this year. But I think it's kind of a learning year and kind of trying to figure out what's going to happen. Uh, and what's going to stay. D'Lo just got traded to them. We'll see how that ends up working. Cam Thomas has been hurt. He's been their main guy. So we'll put him at the D. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt just because they're not fully healthy. And now we have the Hornets, and unfortunately, the Hornets, it's the same situation. They're pretty bad. And if you look at their roster, they have the growth. They have LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Mark Williams. Like, the team is going to be there in a few years. They're just really not there yet. And it's hard to watch because you want guys like LaMelo to succeed. Brandon Miller should be playing better, especially at this point in his career. I feel like he's been pretty decent, and I definitely think that he needs to play better if they want to have any chance. Um, they definitely need a complimentary piece, but I'm gonna put him at D. I know based off how they played this year, it's been bad, but I mean I feel like there's been good signs there, and it's not a total shit show. First year under a new head coach in Charles Lee, you got to give him a little bit of a break here. That's why I'm gonna keep him at D. I mean I think you could argue that they're definitely like D, like they're both D. There's no D plus here. Like they're not verging in on like just cracking the play in. I don't really think they're there yet. Which will bring us to the Chicago Bulls. And the Chicago Bulls, I'm going to have to put them at D again, just because I know that they are currently in the play-in race, but they just traded Zach LaVine. They're seemingly wanting to blow up this team. Vucevic is already 35, so he's not getting any younger himself, and things aren't really looking too good for them going forward. They're young. They have some young guys, but they don't really use them. Matt Buzelis hasn't played that much this year. They just traded Zach LaVine, like I just said. Kobe White's going to need to step up a lot if they want to crack the plan. But right now, I have them as a D plus team in my eyes. I just don't think that they're really complete. as much as they were, and they didn't get much in return for Zach LaVine. And I will say, which I'll if I do make a trade deadline video, I will say the thing about that is that they were talking about trading Zach LaVine for a long time. I think the past like two trade deadlines, he's been on the table as being a guy that linked to many teams, but he just never was. So at the end of the day, you couldn't really expect them to get a lot from a return from him, and I think it was an appropriate return. But I don't think any of those guys will really be on the team in a few years come. Which brings us to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, the Cavaliers have by far been the most surprising team in the NBA. I expected them to be like a 4 or 5 seed in the East, and right now they have the best record in the East. They're 40-10. Unbelievable job Kenny Atkinson has done there. I think a lot of people doubted him as a coach. They doubted what he could do with the roster, but they're on fire. Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell have been playing out of their minds lately. Jarrett Allen's been really good. Evan Mobley's been really good. The team is looking good, and they're by far a finals contender. I know in the playoffs they might not have the experience, but I personally do think that Cleveland basketball is kind of back. Ever since the LeBron era was a little sluggish, now they are back, and I think they nailed every one of their draft picks in the past years. And big props to what they're doing over there. Now that brings us with the Dallas Mavericks. This is our first team we are doing in the Western Conference. Now the Mavericks are just out of the play-in race. They're one game above 500. They just lost last night. And I am going to have to put them at a B team. I do think that they're a B team at the end of the day. I do think trading Luka probably hurts those chances a lot. And this is probably going to be a more controversial pick. But I think Kyrie is going to be way more explosive. We saw it last night, even though Anthony Davis wasn't playing. He had 30 points, and he was looking like he was in his prime. He still is in his prime, in my opinion. Obviously, he's towards the end of it. But him and Anthony Davis are going to be better than people think. Max Christie looked pretty good. I think he had 15 points in his debut. I mean, that's a good complementary piece in that trade, and he's going to be good off the bench for them going forward. Not to mention, Daniel Gafford looked pretty good last night as well. So the supporting cast around the Mavericks and Kyrie and AD is going to be good, and I still think that they can make a playoff push and make it out of the play-in right now. Next up, we have the Denver Nuggets. And the Nuggets, for me, are kind of interesting just because the West is very good. And when I think about the West being very good, I think the Nuggets are definitely they're a B plus team. Maybe you could put them as an A minus team. I know they're coming off a very good playoff runs in the past few years. The team's looking pretty good. Russell Westbrook's having one of his best seasons in a few years, being how old he is. That's very good for them. Seems like they have things figured out, and they obviously have. But I don't know if I would say that they're the top dogs. They're currently the 4th seed in the West, and the West is very good. So I mean, I can't put 4 good teams in the West at the A tier. Like there's got to be got to limit, cut out some people. But I do think that the Nuggets are still a very good team, and obviously they've shown that throughout the season. They're 12 games above 500. I'm pretty sure, pretty good season that they've had going on. Next up, we have the Detroit Pistons, and now the Pistons are actually 500, and I can't believe I'm putting them in the C tier category, which because last year they would have been in like F minus. They're having a way better season. Cade Cunningham finally looks like himself. Tobias Harris seemingly turned out to be a decent signing. He's scoring like 15 a night for them. They got some vet presence and some young presence. Hopefully they can get Asar Thompson going, where he's scoring double digits plus every night. But I'm really liking what is going on there in Detroit, and I honestly do hope that they can make the play-in and kind of prove a lot of people wrong because they are looking to be very good, which will bring us to the Golden State Warriors. And the Warriors also one game above 500. They're a C tier team. Stephen Curry's had himself a pretty good year. It's 36. Feel bad for him because the cast around him is very young. They're a little bit inexperienced, but Steve Kerr is an experienced coach, and I think if the team does make it to the play-in, sneak in the playoffs, that they will perform just because they have the tools and they have the coaching staff to get the job done with the young guys and kind of teach them exactly what needs to happen. That'll bring us to the Houston Rockets, and the Rockets have defied all odds against them. They have one of the best young cores in the NBA with Jalen Green, Sengun, Jabari Smith. I mean, they've nailed every one of their draft picks. Talk about that as well. They went from being a very old team with Chris Paul, James Harden was on there for a little bit. The team was not good. It was older a few years ago. They completely revitalized and went way younger. They're definitely a very high B tier team in my opinion, and we could see them crack the conference finals, at least try to make it past the second round. The young core might need a few years to grow, kind of like OKC's core, which we'll talk about later. But I do think that things are going to be very good for them coming forward, and I'm excited to see what they can do. With that being said, we have the Indiana Pacers. Now, the Pacers are another team that are playing pretty good in the East. And yes, they're a B tier team. Tyrese Halliburton, Siakam, Miles Turner. The team is pretty stacked on paper. They obviously have the depth to go far, coming off an Eastern Conference final runner-up run last year. I think that they could definitely either make it back there. Don't really know if they're finals worthy. Depending on their draw in the playoffs, I think this team can go far though, as they have what it takes, and they have a pretty good bench. Guys like Ben Shepherd are going to be very key for them. Aaron Nason has developed insanely. Pretty good team that they've got going on, and I'm excited to see what they can do. Clippers now, another interesting team. Got rid of Paul George, and I mean they're still a good team. Don't get me wrong, they're still a good team. I think I'm gonna have to put them in the B tier. I think the B tier is gonna be filled with a lot of pretty good teams, but they're not finals worthy. They're not mid worthy. That's kind of where the Clippers land. Kawhi Leonard has been very injured throughout his career. Hopefully, he can stay healthy and get them to at least the second round of the playoffs. I think that's kind of their ceiling, is the second round. Maybe they make a conference finals run. I don't know. But I do think that the team is good. I think Norman Powell has played phenomenally. I mean, one of the best years in his career. At age like 31, he's doing it, which is very surprising. We'll see if he gets traded. I know he's been in a few trade talks. With the deadline rolling up, we are actually officially less than 24 hours away from it now. It is 4:45 at the time I'm recording this. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. But the Clippers, I really don't think that they should kind of destruct the core that they have now, as they've already done it enough. James Harden playing his one of the best, very good season, redeemed himself from last season, and he kind of took the leap once Paul George came out of there. So yeah. And now we have the next LA team, the Lakers, and I'm so excited to see what the Lakers can do. I don't really think that I would call them finals worthy just yet. Maybe we can put them in the finals worthy. I know LeBron and Luca are gonna work very well together. We'll see how that ends up panning out. But the Lakers do have one of the best rosters. JJ Redick has done an amazing job as a head coach so far. Interested to see how the defense and the size kind of pans out for them. Maybe Jackson Hayes will be able to take a step with AD gone. Maybe he at least learned a few things with the vet AD there. I'm very interested to see how it pans out. I think they're a high B team, and they could make the finals run depending on how things go. With that being said, we had the Memphis Grizzlies, who had the best redeem. They had the best redemption run, I think, in NBA last 10 years, aside from maybe the Pistons this year. They were below 500 last year, and this year they are controlling the West just behind OKC. It's going to be a dash to the first place towards the rest of these 30 games of the season. John Morant and some have been amazing. JJJ has been on fire. I'm very excited to see what this team can do, and they are by far a finals contender, believe it or not. It's crazy to see, how the NBA has changed in the last like 3 years, especially just how young teams have gotten and how they've developed. Which will bring us to the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat, unfortunately, are going to fall in the C tier for me. I don't really know exactly how I can feel about them. Right now, they're currently slated to be in the play-in. But I mean, if Jimmy Butler doesn't end up finishing out the season there, let's say a trade happens today, or they just suspend him, he sits out, etc. He played one game. He was suspended for 7. Then he played one. Now he's resuspended again. I just don't really know how I feel about the core. I don't really think Tyler Hero. I mean, he did make an All Star. Me personally, I think Maxey should have gotten that All Star spot. But look, I mean, he's a good player, but I don't really know if he can lead the team. I think Bam Adebayo again is yeah. The problem with centers is that they're good players. Bam's a very good center in the league. But is he going to be able to really lead the team? I mean, he's not putting up like Joel numbers when healthy. He's not like Jokic. He's not dropping 30 a game with a triple double. So I'm kind of interested to see how the team can pan out. I think they will definitely make the play in. But if Jimmy Butler's not there, for me, I think they're just a mid-average team. Next up, we have the Milwaukee Bucks. Milwaukee, another team who I'm like hesitant to where I want to put them. I think they're definitely posed to make a finals run. I think they started off slow. I think Doc Rivers kind of figured out his team in the end. But I'm gonna have to put them in the finals category. Right now they're currently in 5th place in the East, which is probably if you're telling me that's not finals. Yes, I understand. But they still have Giannis. He's an MVP player. Damian Lillard is one of the best point guards in the league still. And Kyle Kuzma, I think, is going to be way better than Middleton. He's more young. He's healthy. He'll be able to play more and he'll be more durable. And he's a very good defender, which is going to help that a lot. If he provides 20 points a game, this team is definitely going to the finals. And Brooke Lopez is a very good center. The team's good. Bobby Portis, interested to see what they can do. A lot of Bucks fans are saying that they're kind of beating themselves up, shooting themselves in the foot. But I kind of like the Bucks' chances going into Next, Minnesota Timberwolves, another team that has kind of controlled the path. They control their destiny. The West is a very good conference. They're 27 and 23. They're definitely a B tier team. No Cat this year's kind of hurt them. Rudy Gobert's got to step it up in the second half of the season. Other than that, I think they're a decent team and they could definitely make it far in the playoffs. Keep it nice and short. New Orleans is going to be our first team in the F tier, dude. I don't know what happened to them. They only have 12 wins. They're playing better as of late, you could say, which is surprisingly, and they're which I guess is a surprising. Last 10, they're 4-6. That's decent for a team like them, but they just fell apart. The Zion experiment hasn't really worked well. I mean, you got to seriously think about just restarting there. CJ McCollum's old. DeJounte Murray has shown that he's like a solid three on an NBA team. Herb Jones is getting older every year. Trey Murphy. I mean, the team on paper is good, but I don't know what is going on. Like, New Orleans is like depressing city right now. I'm not going to talk about anything else, but they're just a depressing city. And the basketball team isn't playing that well either. Next up, we have the Knicks. And, oh my God, it hurts me to say it, but the Knicks can go back to the NBA. They can go to the NBA Finals. They definitely can. Um, they're a very good team. Jalen Brunson is by far, in my opinion, he's the top 5 point guard in the NBA. He has just shown everybody how good he was. I love that dude at Villanova, and he's cooking right now. The Knicks, I'm so scared as a Sixers fan. I do not want to face the Knicks. Next up, we have the OKC Thunder, who have one of the best young cores, the best GM management, the best management team. They have the best record in the West. This team is stacked. Shea is putting up MVP numbers, dude. He is on fire. Dude. I feel like I just noted on my pants to Shea. He is going crazy. Chet Holmgren has proven that he is one of the best draft picks in the last 5 years as a center. J Dub, both J Dubs. Lou Dort has played pretty well. Isaiah Hartenstein was one of the best pickups in the offseason, in my opinion. I think he played very well. And then, not to mention, I think they have like 10 first round picks in the next 5 years. The GM cooked. They nailed all their draft picks, and everyone was crazy when they traded for Shea. But dude, when he finally got to a point where they could develop him, I mean, he's by far a top 5 player in the NBA right now. I don't really think it's up for debate. Next up, we have the Orlando Magic. I'm going to put them at the C tier. I know they started off the season well. They're a little rocky now. Franz Wagner and Paolo are going to be the future of their team. Suggs is also going to be another team that has nailed. I feel like they've nailed a lot of their draft picks, but unfortunately, injuries kind of got the best of them. Not the best coaching. And the atmosphere really just isn't there. Like, you don't have the Thunder. The Thunder are playing out of their minds lately. Fans are loving it. The Magic, they're a young core, but I mean, there's not a lot of guys at their game. It's a little rocky. As they're just a few games below 500. But I think they're a decent team. I think that they definitely will be good in a few years to come. Just right now, can't really give it to them. Now we have my Philadelphia 76ers. I'm going to have to put them in the C tier. I feel like I could talk about the Sixers for days on days. I've been wanting to make a video about the Sixers. I just never really have. But the thing with the Sixers is that, one, they just made a very good trade. Talked about it last night on the live stream. Caleb Martin for Quentin Grimes. They traded KJ Martin today. They're clearing up some cap, and they're getting younger. Quentin Grimes shooting 40% from three is what's really going to kind of hopefully push them into the play-in and get the shooting that they need. Hopefully he can kind of take on Jared McCain's role at the start of the year. But I think when we have the team fully healthy, we've dealt with tons of injuries. Paul George is hurt. He's hurt now. And B doesn't play back-to-backs. Jared McCain's out. Those three of the four best players on the team aside from Maxey. So it's kind of hard. I think Kelly Oubre's been playing great. I think Justin Edwards has also been playing great as a good complementary piece to this team. Two-way contract. Get him on a real contract immediately. And the biggest star of them all, Gershon Yabusele, who has taken everybody by surprise. That dunk on LeBron literally saved the dude's basketball career. But yeah, I think the Sixers will eventually sneak into the play-in. I think we're too good of a team almost not to. Like, on paper, we have 3 all-star caliber players and a very good supporting cast. At least this season, Oubre, Quentin Grimes, Yabusele. I'm talking about when healthy. I can't include McCain. I think we'll be a decent team. Hopefully, we can sneak into the play-in and try to make a little bit of a playoff run. I'm really not expecting too much this year, but I mean, they're playing better as of late, and that's kind of all that matters, which will bring us right to the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns are another they're a B tier team just because when I look at their roster, it screams pretty good to me. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, both guys that have played pretty well. Kevin Durant sweepstakes are kind of crazy. I'm not exactly sure what is going to happen with him, but I mean I think if the Suns do end up trading him, it won't be the worst thing. Just because with their timetable, I don't really think that they kind of have the supporting cast around D Book and Kevin Durant, and I guess you could say Bradley Beal to make the finals run. So, do you keep Devin Booker, try to get some mid, decent guys around him, and go from there? I'm sorry, keep Devin Booker, trade KD, try to get some better draft capital back, as well as maybe a few good role players. That might be the move. I personally don't think they ever should have traded Mikal Bridges. I think trading Chris Paul from Bradley Beal is probably the right move at the time, but trading Mikal Bridges just kind of fucked their whole timeline up and fucked their team up because they had give up a lot of picks, and I'm interested to see how they'll be able to make it back because once Devin Booker starts aging and regressing, the team is really screwed. I mean, they nailed their first round draft pick in Ryan Dunn this year. I think he's been pretty good. But other than that, they don't really have much to look forward to. But I will put them at the B tier just because they're above 500 and they're a good team on paper. Next up, we have the Portland Trail Blazers, another team that I'm probably going to have to settle and put in the D tier. I think on paper, they're young. It's a lot of mid. There's not like a star-studded player that's controlling the team. I think develop Shaden Sharp, develop Scoot, get Denny Avdia a lot of minutes, and the team will be decent. But other than that, there's not really much to be excited about in Portland. Trading CJ McCollum and Dame probably just ruined every fan's dream. Next up, we have Sacramento Kings. Kings just made a trade, but they got rid of De'Aaron Fox, which is that trade alone is going to have to put me in the C tier. They're just above 500, but I don't really think what they did was smart. They didn't really get too much in return other than Zach LaVine. But Zach LaVine's, what is he, 29? He's pushing 30. He's going to start to regress soon. Domantas Sabonis is the only young, Keegan Murray and him are the only young guys on the team. DeMar DeRozan's also very old. So, I mean, once their two good players kind of go, it'll be interesting to see. I think they're a mid-NBA team. San Antonio Spurs are up next. Spurs are going to be a D tier for now. I think depending on how De'Aaron Fox plays, they can push their way up to the C tier. But overall, the season's been kind of disappointing. I wouldn't say disappointing. They're 21 and 26 right now. That is okay in the NBA. Winter Wembanyama looks very good. Chris Paul's been decent. Hopefully, Devin Vassell, guys like Keldon Johnson, guys like that can kind of develop and learn from a guy like Chris Paul, which is going to hopefully push them that timetable up in the next few years because De'Aaron Fox is decently young. So hopefully they can push their way up to the B tier within the next 2 years. Next up, we have the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors are also just an F tier team for me. I mean, it's kind of sad. It's really sad. 2019 they won the NBA Finals. Kawhi left. DeMar DeRozan left. All their guys left. OG Anunoby left. Serge Ibaka retired. Marc Gasol left. The whole team left. The coach left. It's just a brand new era of basketball in Toronto, and they're gonna need some time to figure it out. Because Emmanuel Quickley and RJ Barrett are okay, but at the end of the day, those can't be your two main scorers. Hopefully, Scotty Barnes will get some help around him in the next few years, and they can bring in a veteran guy that is going to be able to help control things. The Utah Jazz and the Washington Wizards are both going to end up in the F tier to end the video just because both these teams have been abysmally bad. Utah, I don't even know what they're doing over there. I think they spent more time focusing on the rebranding 2 years ago than the actual team. I'm very interested to kind of see how they finish out the year. Maybe they can get the young guys more involved, like Bryce Sensabaugh, Taylor Hendricks, guys like that. Isaiah Collier, I also think should be a main guy. And Washington Wizards, dude, what is even going on? I think they have like 8 wins right now, and they're pretty close to being one of the worst teams in the NBA history. They're definitely going to be up there. Don't think getting Chris Middleton helped them at all. But that is going to end the video pretty much. I know I just talked a lot. I get a little what's the word? I kind of just go on and yap. But that's going to do it. Let me know your guys' thoughts. I'm going to try to do some more NBA videos as we ramp our way up to the playoffs. I do post shorts about the trades, a lot of crazy trades. I think there's 5 All-Stars, 6 All-Stars that have been traded at this point in the deadline, that they were All-Stars that they're one at a point in their career. But yeah, that's going to do it. Interested to see how the rest of the season plays out. But thank you guys so much for watching, of course. Make sure to check out the Twitter down below in the description. I will put this tier list in the description as well if you guys want to use it. But thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys in the next video.